Friday, May 26th, and you got the three of us. That's Jack McMullen, Arm Layton, and I am Peter Apple. And this is the Just Baseball Show brought to you by BetMGM. Use the king of sportsbooks and use code JBFans when you download. Wager $10 on any MLB game and receive $100 in bonus bets. And BetMGM is helping out all MLB bettors by giving out bonus bets every Wednesday and Sunday. Or actually, that was Saturday. But it feels like every single day. Wednesday and Saturday, you're getting bonus bets. On this episode, we are talking three standout pitchers. We all gathered three each, but we also have the Suck Bag Award for the guy who's having a really tough May to start. Gentlemen, it's Friday. I feel good. I'm in the Just Baseball studio. I'm wearing this nice shirt we talked about in the last pod from Zara.
Yeah.
How are you guys?
Good. I love the Zara men's collection. It's something that I got to hit more often. Mm-hmm. I just got a text from my brother, who is a pedestrian baseball fan. Like, he asked me a couple of years ago if Nolan Arenado was good, and I said yes, and just kind of put that to bed. So that tells
valid
you
valid question.
Valid question. But this was when he was in Colorado, so the answer was like yes, absolutely, he's good. But he just texted me this afternoon. What are your thoughts on Zach Hampel? And I have yet to respond. How should I respond to that?
He did like a decent marketing move. Did you see he caught another Cedric Mullins home run and said
they gave the ball to the other one, but like, dude,
no, he gave the ball. He gave the ball to Little Man, I guess, and Little Man is this very popular social media personality who plays MLB The Show, and his favorite character in MLB The Show is Cedric Mullins.
Is it least favorite character? Like, Mullins keeps hitting nukes against him or something?
No, but I think Mullins is his guy. Like, Mullins is his guy. It's like game respects game, you know?
Yeah.
And he did that cool marketing move. But overall, I think Zach Hampel is one of the worst people in the Major League Baseball scope.
Also, there was a video before that, I think, that was like, they're like, give it to Little Man, give it to Little Man. He's like, who's that? No, it was the first home run. And then I guess, like, guys blessed enough to get another chance at Cedric Mullins with Little Man there and gives it to him. I was thinking about this recently because I wasn't going to go out of my way to bring it up on the podcast, but like, obviously everything he does is annoying and you know, stealing souvenirs essentially from kids is pretty weird. But I do feel like it's gotten to the point we were talking about guys being like so underrated that they become overrated, almost in a way where like it was like, fuck that guy for a while. But now I feel like he's getting the fuck that guy treatment. Like he did something like absolutely like unforgivably bad, like should be in prison. Like, I think this guy stinks. I think he's an asshole and I think he's a weirdo, but like, he's not like a criminal. He's not a scum. Like, he's not an absolute scumbag, but like, he's getting the treatment of like full blown, like, you are like legitimately scum of the earth. And I don't know if he's scum of the earth. Like, fuck him. But like scum of the earth, I don't know.
I'm with you. Real quick, Mr. Beast gets that same exact treatment. The YouTuber that does all like the extravagant.
Does he really?
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite trends on Twitter is like, whenever this guy posts a new video, there are haters that just come out. Like, his last one was, we helped 1,000 deaf people hear again. And somebody quote tweeted and said, I hope you rot in hell. Like, it's just, it's very funny. The amount of people that are just hated for existing now
it's like
is probably higher than it's ever been. Meme
it's
hate.
Like Nickelback was a big meme hatred. Russ was a big meme hatred.
Russ was a huge
like, Russ isn't that bad. Like, he's fine. Like, that's classic.
I totally agree with you, Aram. Like, Zach Hampel is getting banned from minor league stadiums, like on Twitter, and it's just for engagement. Like, you're just dragging this guy for engagement. Like the
that's
Pickles,
where I draw the line.
The Pickles are banning Zach Hampel. What are you doing? That's for an engagement for a tweet. But like, Hampel reads that, he's like, what did I do? Yeah, am I kind of a dickhead? Am I running around stealing balls from kids? At the end of the day, they are home run balls. So I agree with you. Fuck him. But at the same time, like,
there's a lot. He's in the like, fuck you, you're annoying and weird category.
Like, why are Braves fans?
You're a piece of shit category.
Why are Braves fans celebrating Marcell Ozuna? Like, he hit a home run, then looked back at Will Smith. Like, Marcell Ozuna is by far worse.
He's in a different fuck you category. Yeah. I agree.
Did we just compare Zach Hampel and Marcell Ozuna? Because maybe we are perpetrators of this.
Let's get into best pitchers of May. Let's just transition into best
Hard
pitchers
transition.
of May. Hard transition. We're not even going to make it smooth. We're just getting the hell out of that conversation.
Right.
So we all brought 3 pitchers that we wanted to highlight in the month of May that have just been excellent so far. But then, of course, we have the Suck Bag Award for the guy who has not had a good May. And then we'll end the show with some of the best pitching matchups, and we'll make some picks, again, courtesy of our friends at BetMGM. I'll start us off with the number 1 guy, and that's number 1 by ERA, which is Michael Wacha of the San Diego Padres. 0.36 ERA in May. And he's often a guy who falls into the Chad innings eater category, where he says his peripheral should retire. Now, 0.36 ERA, 4.75 xFIP. Yeah, not ideal, but how about a 2.60 or FIP in May, 3-0 record over 25 innings pitched. The only run he allowed was to the Twins. 3 shutout performances against the Reds, the Royals, and a revenge game against the Boston Red Sox. We were very worried about Michael Wacha, and yes, there are peripherals that say he'll struggle down the line, but let's give him his shine now. He has been dominant in May.
So here's my thing with Wacha, and there's always going to be those pitchers who outperform the peripherals. We always talk about that, and I think Bryce Elder's trending in that regard on Twitter. It's becoming like a talking point about like anti-StatCast, pro stat, which is just dumb. Like nothing's perfect. There's going to be some guys who slip through the cracks. It's good to acknowledge them, and Bryce Elder's one of them. I think Michael Wacha, because we look at what he did over 127 innings last year, and the underlying stats had us a little bit worried about this year. And now you look at the numbers, the surface level stats after the month of May that he's had are pretty much on par, and the underlying stats are pretty much on par. So maybe this is a guy that, is always going to be a mid-3s ERA guy, or not always, but can count on to be a mid-3s ERA guy. And the peripherals will always be something he outperforms. Like, I think Wacha's another month of this from me kind of accepting he's always just going to outperform the underlying stats.
Yeah. There's something to me about Wacha that screams this guy pitches to the situation a bit more than many. And I think that that's something that a veteran pitcher will do in the latter half of their career. Like I think Adam Wainwright at this point is pitching to a situation, right? Where it's, yes, sometimes it's bombs away, but like he's not going to let up that bomb in a pivotal situation. I think that Wacha is kind of cut from that cloth to a less notable degree, right? Where I bet if you showed him the bubbles, he doesn't care.
You wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I don't mean that in a bad way on either side. Like, oh, this guy's an idiot because he doesn't care about the metrics, or, the metrics are bad and this guy just gets outs. I'm just saying he screams, I don't care. I don't allow runs. Like that's his aura. And I think that he's doing that really well.
He's in the get outs category, and his fastball like grades out metrically like not very good. But at the same time, opponents are hitting 172 against it. Opponents are hitting 214 against his changeup. Like that changeup has been his bread and butter now for a long time. And like he can work off those 2 pitches. Now, are any of his other pitches that good? Like his curveball has performed pretty well this year. I think he's a command guy. Like he's also not a guy who's just walking the world, right? 6% walk rate, basically his since 2020. So he throws strikes, he fills up the zone. It's not exciting stuff, and he allows up some hard contact, but he keeps the ball on the ground. He's just like one of those guys who you can pencil in as a 4.2 ERA guy over 180 innings. It's extremely valuable. Like we give those guys shit sometimes, but there's not a lot of guarantees among starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. And like Michael Wacha being that guy is so important, especially for the Padres, as Blake Snell has fallen down completely. Yu Darvish either looks like the greatest pitcher alive or he really struggles. And Musgrove is off to a tough year. Like Michael Wacha, we made fun of him when the Padres signed him, has arguably been the best pitcher in their rotation.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
Who you got, Arm? Who's your guy in May that you're looking at?
I'm gonna go with a guy that like, because I feel like we're not gonna talk about him a lot the rest of the year because this might not last. So I want to give him some shine while we can. Dane Dunning has had a wonderful May. Just an absolutely wonderful May. In the last 5 starts, or specifically 4 starts, because he was out of the bullpen for the most part. I think he made a spot start. And then over the last few games, and specifically in the month of May, he's transitioned to the rotation. I'll just take you through these 4 starts. Against the Angels, 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 Ks, 1 walk. Goes to Seattle, 6 innings, 2 runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks. And then another 6 inning, 1 run ball, no walks, 4 Ks against the Braves. The Braves, like, to do that to the Braves is really impressive, especially the Braves right now. And then he put out another quality start against the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't know how this is going to last. I have no idea. I'm not going to pretend to like break down Dane Dunning and say, oh, this guy's going to, this guy figured it out. He was once a highly regarded arm. He is good enough to get outs at the big league level. He's going to be sinker cutter. And I think that's what he's really kind of found. Weak contact inducer. Another just gets outs guy. I hope it lasts. I don't know if it will, but it's part of the reason why the Rangers have looked so good as of late. It's just another arm that's doing well for them.
Yep. Yeah, I like Dane Dunning because he's going to make you hit the ball. Kind of similar to Michael Wacha, right? Like these guys who like allow hard contact, they don't have great stuff, but they just fill up the zone with strikes. So it's like I was just before this podcast started, just watching Alek Manoah walk the world and then letting guys steal on them, right? If you're going to get to Dane Dunning, you're going to have to hit the ball, which is the hardest thing to do in sports. Like he's not just going to allow free passes. So will he be a guy who currently has a 1.67 ERA this season? No. But is he a train wreck? Is he a guy with an ERA in the 5s? Absolutely not. He's probably going to finish the year with a 4.2 ERA with plenty of innings and just throwing strikes. And like, that's important.
So that's not the Dane Dunning that I was expecting last year. Going into this year, that's not the Dane Dunning that I was expecting at all.
Which is fair.
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting Dane Dunning to be a member of the Round Rock Express, to be total.
Okay. Over under by the end of the year, assuming he stays in the rotation. So right now he has a 1.67. Despite averaging 5.44 Ks per 9. Over under 4.2 ERA for Dane Dunning by season's end.
I'm going with the push.
You think 4.25?
I think that was an unbelievable line by me.
I think it was an incredible line by Arm.
Yeah.
FIP over under 4.6.
Probably over. I think you nailed it again.
I will say though, even if Dane Dunning is a 4.2 guy, like for them, somebody that can just go in every 5th day and be a depth arm for them, you kind of use him as a swingman. I think that's a good development for the Rangers, they especially because of the volatility of that rotation with DeGrom, Eovaldi's injury history recently, and he's looked really good. But, a lot of the guys, Heaney, very up and down. Having another guy that you can just plug in and know it's not a disaster. Like I just watched the Rockies spot start Carl Kaufman. Like we see some teams spot start some bums. Like this is a guy that, if you have to ride him for a little bit longer, like that's fine. Even if he does come to earth a little bit, which is another reason why I like this Rangers team. They haven't had this kind of depth before.
And if he allows 3 runs every 5 innings in every start, Rangers are going to put up 4. This offense is electric. So that's all they need. Just get through it. Take up some innings, give the bullpen a rest day, just get some outs, and he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. No doubt about it. Jack, what do you got?
Yeah, the University of Michigan Alumni Network is going to come for Arm's head for calling noted Michigan man Carl Kaufman a bum just then.
Didn't he set the innings record?
Of Michigan bias, by the way. I've noticed that with like Michigan baseball players. Usually they stink.
It's alliteration. It's Michigan man. They are viewed in a different light, right?
He set the innings record at Michigan. I think he holds the career record for innings pitched in a season at Michigan. Another get-outs guy.
You look at his AAA ERA. I know it's the PCL, but go look at it.
And problem is, like, he was a get-outs guy in college. This is a level. My guy, like, if you asked him, he might have been a suck bag in May because, relatively speaking, he had a worse May than he did April. But Shane McClanahan was one of the best arms in baseball. And this guy, like, I don't know. I mean, you look at Sonny, you look at Strider. Shane McClanahan is 8-0 with a sub-2 ERA right now. Like he and Sonny are the only 2 qualified starters with a sub-2. And McClanahan, opponents OPS was 647 against him in May. They OPS'd 584 against him in March and April. So he technically got worse. The thing that jumps out to me is who he was starting games against in the month of May. He threw 30 innings and had a 1.8 ERA in starts at home against Pittsburgh, and that's when Pittsburgh was like hot. They were 20-8 when they ran into McClanahan. At Baltimore, in the Bronx, where he sputtered, against Milwaukee at home, and against Toronto at home. So McClanahan got it done against quality opponents, and the command got a teensy bit better in May. That was the thing that jumped out about McClanahan's start, was like, this guy, yes, he was striking out the world last year and he was a sub-2, but he was under 2 walks per 9. This year, like, command was getting away from him, and he walked 4 against Baltimore. I think he walked 4 against New York. But the fact that he has been able to run together back-to-back 7-inning appearances, no runs against Milwaukee, 1 run against Toronto, 7 Ks in each of them, is really impressive for me. I think this guy right now, if we had to crown a best arm in baseball at this moment, it's him.
I don't think that's too much to say. I think he has been unreal. I watched his full start against the Toronto Blue Jays. And first of all, the Rays booth, very underrated. Everything about the Rays is amazing, like, except the ballpark. But even the fans are showing up. You could hear the fans. But the booth is amazing. And what they were talking about with McClanahan is they were joking around because in the first 4 innings, 11 pitches exactly through 4. The command was unreal. He's throwing it wherever he wants, getting weak contact, strikeouts, didn't matter. And then he gave up in the 5th inning. He's about to go on his 11th pitch. And the booth is like joking around. Like, it wasn't even they were dissecting his start. He was so damn good against the Blue Jays that they were like making fun of it. That's how good he was, where it's just like a joy to watch. So you don't even have to break it down because everybody can see how incredible he was. And that's against the Blue Jays, who were coming off a 20-run performance, and it didn't matter. It was Shane McClanahan. They ran into a brick shithouse, and that's that big lefty in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. So that's an important, like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's an interesting, like, barometer of stardom. When I tend to listen to the road broadcast whenever I watch the Marlins games, and the Marlins, one thing that I've noticed now, and we saw it with Sandy last year, the opposing broadcaster, like, for those, and Jack, I'm sure you can relate to this, and because you always talk about on the call up when you're excited about a pitching matchup, like, there's certain players when they come to town, no matter what the team is, no matter how good the team is, the Marlins could be playing the Yankees or the Pirates, whatever it may be. Last year, when Sandy Alcantara was pitching, it was a treat for the opposing broadcasters to call a game when that guy was throwing, and they would marvel. They'd talk about the opposing pitcher more than really any other time of the year. McClanahan's in that department, right? Where anytime he pitches, you put on the road broadcast, like Peter said, they're going to marvel at what he's doing. And they're going to talk about him way more than most road broadcasts do. That to me is like that superstar threshold when opposing broadcasts do that. I see it a little bit now with the Marlins with Luis Arias, more on just marveling on how much of a throwback player he is. And you see it with other teams too, but I think McClanahan is in that bucket of every time he throws, you're seeing something that very few pitchers can do, especially from the left side. We talk about must-see TV, like, it's really cool to be able to watch McClanahan pitch every single day, like every 5th day, excuse me. Like, he's in that bucket.
Yeah, to that point, Arm, like, the Rays booth is almost bored. They're just like, bang, bang, bang. All right, next inning. Let's get, let's start talking about the hitters. But it's like McClanahan comes off and they almost take a break. It's like, all right, let's go to the bathroom, because it's just going to be a 1-2-3 inning and there's no debate about it. So McClanahan is easily one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. My second guy who I am bringing up is a San Francisco Giant. Logan Webb is keeping the ball on the damn ground. San Francisco Giants 6th in ERA in the month of May at 1.30. It's lowered his overall ERA to 2.91. I mean, this guy, it's like year over year, just keeping the ball on the ground. In 27 innings in May, 49 ground ball outs. He started this month with a 7 2/3 great performance against the Astros, only allowing 2 earned, then rattled off back-to-back 7-inning, 1-run performances against the Nationals, which, of course, is not the hardest matchup in the world, but this D-backs offense against right-handed pitching is top 10 in Major League Baseball. They couldn't touch him for shit. And then he ended the month with a 6-inning shutout of the Miami Marlins. This is a guy in Logan Webb who is not really that flashy, but just keeps the ball on the ground and does his job, and really is one of the most dependable starters in Major League Baseball. 2021, 3.03 ERA, right? And he threw 150 innings. 2022, 2.90 ERA in 192 innings. Then in 2023, this season, he's rattled off 65 innings, which is one of the highest in Major League Baseball at a 2.91 ERA. You know, when Logan Webb is pitching, it's going to be really tough to beat him every single time. And this is just a regular occurrence at this point. Do you think the Giants would ever trade him? Like, could he ever be on the market? He's just too young and too good. He's someone that, you know, is 26 years old and the Giants want to build around. Like, you guys are already shaking your heads. I agree. But where the Giants are going, they could get an enormous package for this guy. So I was just saying, man, if they get blown away, could it be on the table? I don't think it will be, but I thought it was worth a conversation.
The way I see it with Logan Webb is if they were going to move him, they don't extend him this spring. And they extended him, right? A couple starts into this season, they extended him 5 years, 90. And I think that Farhan Zaidi, I think that the Giants see Logan Webb as a guy that is always going to sit around 2.9. You mentioned the ERA by year, right? 3.03 in 21, 2.90 in 2022, 2.91. Like, he's always going to be that. He's always going to be 180 to 200 innings. He's always going to strike out 8.5 or 9 guys per 9. And he's always going to walk 2 or fewer guys per 9. That's the thing about Logan Webb. Yes, he gets a ton of contact on the ground, but he doesn't relinquish free base runners.
Nope.
So when he's sporting a sub-3 and he's not putting anybody on, you know that, like, your heart rate can stay down that day. And every Major League Baseball team clamors for a guy like that in their rotation.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on Webb is, you know, when he was really breaking out in 2021, you know, we were thinking, oh, maybe this guy's a frontline guy. And then, you know, I think it kind of is he's settled at this just consistent 2.
Yeah.
Because there were spots where he was struggling a little bit and we're like, oh, maybe he's more of a 3. And now I think you just pencil him in as this really consistent high end 2, or like a low end ace. But what I think makes him so good and why I would happily extend him is all the things that you said. Like, he is so safe. When you throw strikes and you get ground balls, even when you're not at your best, like, you're going to churn out quality starts. I think there's a chance he leads the league in innings this year, especially if Sandy Alcantara continues to struggle a little bit. Like, right now he's averaging, I don't know how it would average out, you know, in terms of, it's almost 7 innings per start, I think, like, not far from it. I think he could easily be one of the better innings eaters in the game and still give you those flashes of ace-like stuff and settle in as one of the best number 2s in the game.
65 innings, 10 starts. You know, it's about 7. And like, I was a little bit nervous about Webb moving into the season with the shift ban, right? A guy who just consistently keeps the ball on the ground, like, relies on that shift in order to get more ground ball outs. Hasn't mattered really at all. Like, he's just too good. Doesn't matter.
Yep. So can we come back to Aram real quick? Can we reverse order here? Because I think there's a really important point. Aram, you think that this guy can lead baseball in innings? I will tell you that my guy is going to lead baseball in innings.
Okay.
Framber Valdez is going to lead Major League Baseball in innings pitched this year. 10 starts, 66 innings. So an inning better than Logan Webb.
Wow.
That is averaging 6 2/3 per start for Framber Valdez. And the thing that is most impressive about Framber Valdez is, yes, this guy is punching out, 10 per 9? He's walking 1.6 per 9. He's always been a 3 walks per 9 guy, but now he's not walking anyone. And you see what he's doing. Let's take his last 3 starts, for example, right? 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 12 Ks, no walks in Anaheim. Then he struggles a little bit against the Cubs, right? Like, you're coming off of an 8-inning performance where you punch out 12. I get it. He goes 4 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned in that one. How do you bounce back from that? Complete game shutout against Oakland. And like, oh, it's Oakland. But in a 3-start
against lefties, they're league average.
Here we go. So
there's 15 other teams worse than them in Major League Baseball against lefties. Just
there
saying.
We go. So in a 3-start span, we saw 8 innings of 1-run ball with 12 strikeouts in a direct matchup with Shohei Ohtani, and we saw a complete game shutout. This guy is as reliable, as durable, and as fun to watch as anybody in baseball.
Yeah, I put out a tweet, top 3 pitches in Major League Baseball right now by run value. Charlie Morton's curveball, Joe Ryan's fastball, and Framber Valdez's sinker. and he just can't touch it. Like, he just can't hit it hard. I mean, talk about another guy. Like, he's kind of the left-handed Logan Webb, but I think he has better stuff than Logan Webb does. Again,
Yeah,
another
it's
guy.
better stuff, which is even crazy because Webb's got great stuff, but it's when you have the sinker like that, and then you have this breaking ball that just always dives to the bottom of the zone. It's like, how do you ever hit the ball in the air off this guy? How do you? The only way that you can beat him is hard on the ground. And yeah, like there's going to be times where you can yank one through a hole or whatever, but that's really hard to do. So you're hoping you can catch one that he hangs. He rarely hangs anything. Like, he is really amazing. And his story is so remarkable because he was signed for like nothing. And he was looked at as like an older, complex guy. No one gave him a shot. And it's always cool to see guys like that. But yeah, I think he's got to be probably the hardest guy to hit like if you were doing some sort of like home run derby, you know how people have floated the idea of like extra innings, home run derby, whatever. If you could go to one pitcher and say like, this guy's got to keep the ball in the yard, I'd feel good about him keeping the ball in the yard in Williamsport. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just never going in the air. It's pretty remarkable.
He's given up 46 home runs in 580 innings in his career. And you look at a guy like Framber Valdez, like we talk about Logan Webb being like low threes, high twos ERA every single year. Framber is a bit more electric with the stuff, and he just gets better year over year. 3.57 ERA in 2020, 3.14 in 2021, 2.82 in 2022, 2.45 this year. Just keeps getting better. So while Logan Webb is that high end 2, kind of low end ace, Framber at his worst is a low end ace. Like, and you put him in the playoffs too. Like, he already proved that biggest moments don't bother him worth anything. He's just
got balls.
Yeah, remember when he was fixing his shoes and people were like, "Oh, maybe you're cheating," and I think he might have heard he's just smiling on the mound. He's like, "I don't have to cheat. Here's the sinker. I dare you to hit it in the air. No one can do shit." It's awesome.
Yeah. Jack, do you want to talk about Michael Kopech, or do you want me to talk about Michael Kopech?
I've got Kopech as my third guy. So
okay, so I'll save that. I'll let you do that because I just want to talk about his dad. Very active on Twitter all of a sudden. Haven't seen his dad at all ever. Very active now. So nice to see Michael P. Kopech active. We'll talk about that in a minute. That was going to be who my next guy was. I'll rehash. I'm going to do it one more time. And I think I'm just going to have to brand myself as an Erod guy. But if we're talking about best pitchers in May, like, shit, man, I got to talk about Erod again. This dude's been fantastic. I'm not going to rehash all of the same points, but are you guys sold? I'll just kick it to you because I'm sold. I'm all the way in. I'm 100% in on everything we're seeing from Erod. Are you sold on Erod being, I'll try to load it a little bit more, a sub 3.2 ERA guy this year?
Holy shit, that's niche.
Yeah. Like, I think you nailed the line again, right? He's got a 3.02 expected. He's allowing some of the softest contact in his career, and that's always been his game. 25% K rate. He ain't walking anybody. And he's just really effective with this fastball, cutter, changeup, sinker combo, right? Like, I wish he had a couple of more speeds, right? Like, I wish he dropped in like this 76-mile-an-hour curveball to keep guys off balance, because a lot of his pitches are in that 92 to 86 range. But everything is just moving all over the place, and he's throwing it wherever he wants. I mean, how can I not buy what I'm seeing right now? He's keeping the ball on the ground. He's limiting hard contact. He's not walking anybody. That's exactly what you want from a pitcher.
What was the number one thing? The reason why we were, a little bit higher on Erod last year was, got him out of Fenway. All the peripherals look so good. Now you're going to get him out of Fenway. He's going to be pitching in Comerica. It's perfect. He's going to be great. And then what we talked about the other episode, he had all those extenuating circumstances last year that, led to him not pitching great through 91 innings. But it wasn't like he was atrocious. He had a 4.05 ERA. Like, he was fine given all the circumstances. But he's upped his strikeout rate significantly. He's upped it by 7%, and he's dropped his walk rate by 3%. As it pertains to May, it's been, more of the same. And he's coming off of, I think, one of his worst starts. 2 starts ago against Pittsburgh, he gave up 4 earned runs. And still his numbers in May are fantastic because he went 8 shutty against the Mets, 7 shutty against Cleveland, and then 5 innings of 2-run ball, 9 Ks against Kansas City. Yeah, I'm all the way in on Erod. And I will continue to say I think this is going to be the best pitcher that is traded. And I think he's pitching for something, obviously. He very much wants to, I think opt out and get a bigger bag.
I'll buy it. My thing about Erod is you're playing a guessing game in the same velocity window. So, Peter, you bring up like you wouldn't mind a taste breaker. Mm-hmm. He's got pitches that move like 4 different ways that are all mid 80s to low 90s. Like, that's so hard to pick up. And the thing is, if he was 55% four-seamer, I'd feel a lot worse about Erod, but like he's 40% four-seamer and then 25% cutter and then like 20% changeup and then 15% sinker. Like it's just everything is there for a hitter to have in the back of their mind. And I think it's a guessing game every time the ball leaves his hand.
And what did we say, Jack, about Erod? We were like, his stuff is just not that good, but every single, all of his velocity up.
He's an elevated Javier Assad.
Up. And he was leaving everything middle. Like it was just middle. There was no command within the strike zone. Like he's never had a problem where he's just given up free passes, but there's a difference between guys who walk and guys who throw strikes, but it's right down the dick.
Yeah.
Erod is on the corners, but he's not nibbling. It's on purpose, which you never really see with Erod in the past. Everything is right where he wants it. How can you not buy it? Like, unless something, like, there's nothing in the numbers that makes me be like, oh, and that when you watch him, there's nothing where I'm like, oh, yeah, he's getting so lucky. Everything looks great.
Right.
Cardinals. You should go get him.
He's a Cardinal. He's a Cardinal. I want to say Cardinal.
He will be a Cardinal. All right. Should we move on to my last guy?
Yes.
I want to talk about another Texas Ranger who has vaulted himself into the American League Cy Young conversation. Nathan Eovaldi is a fucking stud right now. He is 4th in ERA in May with a 1.10 ERA, which has lowered his regular season ERA to 2.60. The only time he didn't go at least 8 innings this month was against the Braves, where he went 7 innings and allowed 3 runs. 9-inning, 1-run ball against the Pirates, 8 2/3 shutouts of the A's, and an 8-inning shutout performance of the Los Angeles Angels. And talk about a ground ball guy. Talked about Framber. Talked about Logan Webb. 47 ground ball outs in 32 2/3 innings.
Damn.
Eovaldi, man. Like, they got DeGrom. Even Heaney was like this interesting guy because it's like, oh shit, look what he did on the Dodgers. And I know it was only 92 innings, but like he could be really good. And Eovaldi was kind of the guy they signed where it's like, all right, good arm, like decent signing. Like we'll see, right? His velocity was down. Dude, I mean, this is some of the best pitching I've ever seen Nathan Eovaldi give anybody. He has been unreal and is such a good thing for the Rangers because he goes so deep in the games, gives the bullpen that rest, because that's the kind of the one issue with the Rangers is that their bullpen is just kind of mid. I mean, it is kind of mid. But the fact that he can go so long and then just get to the closer there, he's been awesome, guys.
Yeah, I mean, he looks healthy.
Yeah.
That's just what it seems like to me. I mean, the velo's back up. He just looks good. I think he was kind of banged up a lot last year, and he looks good. Like, he just looks healthy. So we saw this is like as good of a stretch, to your point, Peter, that we've seen from him since that playoff stretch with the Red Sox. If he can sustain this, the Rangers are a real force, because you could have easily made the case to talk about John Gray in this and talk about a couple other guys. So the Rangers
already mentioned Dane Dunning, like, right?
Dane Dunning. We mentioned Dane Dunning. Like, they're clicking on all cylinders right now.
So the thing that jumps out to me about Eovaldi is, it's almost like this level of positive surprise that I felt when he was with New York, when he was like really firing with the Yankees, right? It was, holy shit, like this guy's got it. This is that feeling that I have with Eovaldi. And, in Boston, I think he made a pleasant introduction to the Red Sox by like being a horse in the World Series. So nobody really doubted him. This is the first time that he has been under the radar, I think, since he was that New York Yankee in beginning of 2018, maybe like end of 2017. I don't have the timeline in front of me here, but like, I feel like he's got that positive surprise around him in the same way that he did when he was a Yankee.
Yeah.
He's also a guy who I feel is 37 when he's 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a lot more in the tank.
Yeah.
splitter is so good. Opponents are hitting 176 against it, and he throws it wherever he wants. And he's throwing his four-seamer at 96 miles an hour. His cutter has been awesome. I mean, he's just been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball this year and should be in the top 5 for AL Cy Young voting consideration. All of his peripherals look great. 2.86 expected ERA compared to a 2.60 ERA. Ground balls highest rate of his career, striking out everybody, not walking anyone. Awesome.
Yeah.
Arm?
Is it me now? Okay. I got to talk about then someone that we've already discussed a decent bit, on the podcast, but I feel like we got to highlight him even more because it's somebody that I don't know if we've really ever seen a debut quite like this, or just like a start to your big league career quite like this. And it's Bryce Miller. I know he just did it against the A's last night, but just like watching that, what's amazing to me about Bryce Miller, because we talk about the carrying fastball and what that brings, which is a lot of swing and miss. What's so amazing to me about him is that he doesn't need to get strikeouts, but he's not a ground ball guy. He gets weak contact in the air, and that's so rare. That's so hard to find. Most guys that are fly ball pitchers are susceptible to the long ball, and there's a world where he could be susceptible to the long ball, and that is a way to beat him. But overall, so far he hasn't given up a home run in the big leagues, and overall he's just so good at getting that weak contact in the air. Again, this was him and Mason Miller were the only 2 80-grade fastballs that we had. And this stat from Codify, I think, really wraps it up really well in terms of what Bryce Miller's done in his first 5 starts. And Codify, by the way, at Codify Baseball on Twitter, you got to follow. It's just a fantastic account. Does such a good job over there. No one in the last 100 plus years has pitched 30 plus innings in their first 5 MLB starts and not allowed 26 plus batters to reach base. Bryce Miller's first 5 starts, 31 and 1/3 innings, 17 base runners. Only 17 base runners. So he's not walking anybody. Nobody's getting hits. Like, just nobody is getting on base. His whip, I think, is, I don't have it in front of me, but it's got to be sub 0.5. Like, it is absolutely insane. So I don't know how long this lasts. Like, I think he's going to clearly be a very good arm for them for a long time. But this level of domination is absurd. And I think it's been really been fun to watch. He's another guy that you got to tune in every start and watch him ride this wave. A 1.15 ERA is just crazy.
Aram doesn't know ball, unfortunately, because Bryce Miller's whip is 0.51. Get wrecked, dude. Leave the Zoom.
I have a couple more stats. David Adler wrote an incredible article on MLB.com. You can find it on Baseball Savant too, just highlighting how incredible the fastball is because of how much he throws it. So among starters with the highest 4-seam fastball usage in 2023, he is number 1 by 4% over Michael Kopech, right? So he's at 67.7% fastball usage. Kopech 63.3%. Mackenzie Gore 62.1, and then everybody's in the same bucket. So it's by far the most used pitch in Major League Baseball. And among starters with the most fastball rise, right? We talk about that get up. Guess who's number 1? Bryce Miller over Spencer Strider and a guy like Nestor Cortez Jr. But then we even go further. Arm, you mentioned that he's not walking anybody, right? Like, we see when rookies come up when they're young, they start to nibble around the strike zone. Maybe they lose their command a little bit. 55.7% of his pitches this season have been in the strike zone, which is top 5 among starting pitchers and right behind Spencer Strider. And it gets even crazier. 36.3% of his pitches this season have been in the heart of the strike zone, meaning they're inside even the edges on the outer part of the zone, which is highest rate among all starters.
Yeah.
Like, he is throwing it in the middle of the zone and daring you to hit it. You got to have a special set of nuts to know that I'm a young guy. These are major league hitters, and all I'm going to do is throw it right in the middle of the strike zone, and I dare you to hit it. And nobody is, dude. It's incredible. That's why I didn't think that comparing him to last year's Strider was that outlandish, because it's a similar type of pitch mix. And I think you could make the argument up to this point that Bryce Miller's fastball is better than Spencer Strider's. I know that sounds crazy, But just look at the numbers. It rises more. It's not that much lower in velocity. And he's throwing it middle like Strider's going up the zone. Miller's like, it's in the middle. They still can't hit it. It's amazing what he's doing.
Miller has this like upshot delivery, which is really what like put me over the top to give him that 80, because it was like when you have that shape and that upshot delivery, it's just unbelievably hard to get on top of. And the confidence that Miller has, that comes from seeing guys swing under that fastball so many times. You miss low a little bit and they still miss under it. Like he has seen so many really good hitters in the minor leagues and now in the majors in the early going take shitty swings at his fastball, that now it's like the amount of zone confidence you have to have in that pitch now, if you're Bryce Miller, with how much whiff you're getting, opponents hitting 108 against it when you're throwing it 70, they know it's coming. There's a seven of the 10 pitches you're going to see from Bryce Miller are going to be a fastball, and guys still can't get on top of it. Then guys will start to make an adjustment a little bit, and that'll put a little bit more pressure on the slider, which, is not where Strider's is, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see. But the fact that he's able to throw that fastball 7 out of 10 times and strike guys out with the fastball 28% of the time, to get chase rates at 30%, swinging strike rate at 14% clip, those are all ridiculous numbers, and it's a testament to just how insane his fastball is. So, I mean, it's really cool to see a guy throw a fastball 70% of the time and dominate hitters as a starter. And that's why he's able to not walk anybody, because he can just go, here's the fastball. He could literally give the fastball gesture and throw it, and I still think he'd get whiffs.
As a rookie.
Yeah. I mean, 5 starts into his big league career? Yeah, I was going to say, I think David Adler's pitch usage numbers didn't take into account that Oakland start on Wednesday night.
Okay.
He's over 70% with the fastball. Like, he is officially over 70%. So like Arm's saying, he's literally flicking his glove up pretty much and saying, you're getting a fastball, you're not going to touch it. It's a 2,600 RPM fastball. It is averaging 2,608 revolutions per minute. That's witchcraft.
Yeah. So all those numbers I said are even better now after that start against Oakland.
Correct.
Which is
I undersold him. My bad. I undersold him.
Well, but Aram oversold him with the whip.
True.
So now we're back to square one.
We leveled off. We're good.
They cancel out.
Who's your pitcher, Jack?
The last one's Kopech. Here's the deal. 5 April starts, ERA at 7.01. Opponents hit 280, and opponents had a 967 OPS against him. They were Shohei fucking Ohtani against him in April. And now they're like Oscar Gonzalez before getting optioned in May. In 5 May starts, Michael Kopech has a 199. Opponents are hitting a $126, and they're OPSing 505. His last 2 starts, 15 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 19 Ks in 15 innings, 1 walk. That's coming off of his first 3 starts in May, albeit still somewhat effective, but 14 Ks, 12 walks in 16 2/3. So this guy was getting, I mean, it was bombs away against Michael Kopech in April. It was like a joke watching him throw. And then at the beginning of May, it was, this guy can't throw a strike to save his life. And now it's, oh my God, he's Steve Carlton. Like, it's just bizarre what's happened with Michael Kopech. And it is Michael Kopech. It's not Mikey, Aram. It's Michael.
No, don't you dare make a headline that's a play on words on an old Chicago artist. It is Michael Kopech. But no,
I think we need to give the dad a break. He's so fired up. He's watching his son, and we got to give the dad a break. I mean, when you're watching your son look legit like Nolan Ryan at times when he's on, like, you got to be just over the moon excited.
It was an article gassing up his son.
Yeah.
That was the only reason why I was like,
and his problem was the title.
He's just so fired up that anything that could be conceived as slightly negative is getting quote tweeted.
He is retweeting like a banshee, which I love. I mean, that is great. Proud father. But like, dude, the article is gassing your son up. They say Mikey in the headline. And yeah, don't call him that. It reminded me of Michael Malone. Don't call the Nuggets coach Mike Malone, or he will correct you on national TV.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do not call him Mike Malone. There's a clip of that. If you look it up, it's so awkward. So awkward. Kopech Michael, the fastball is just jumping. I was looking back, and several fastballs from his last start were over 20 inches of induced vertical break. He never does that. The last 5 starts, the whiff rates on the fastball have been off the charts. The swinging strike rate on the fastball has been off the charts. So he's found the heater. I don't know how, why, when, what, but he found the heater. It's averaging 96 over his last 5 starts. That always helps too. So averaging more velo with more shape, that tends to help. And if you look at the last 3 starts, he's averaging 96.5 miles per hour. You look at the last 2 starts, 96.7 miles per hour. You go to last start, 96.8 miles an hour. So he's been ticking up slightly every single start. Looks like he's kind of just getting into his groove. Hopefully he stays healthy, but right now it seems like he's like really getting into a rhythm physically, and the velocity is all the way back for him, at least close to all the way back from this big league version of Michael Kopech that we've seen.
Is he the toughest player to watch, Jack, as a White Sox? And I mean that in the way that when he's on, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, just like the stuff that he has with the jump that Arm was talking about on the fastball, at times he looks absolutely unhittable. And then there are times where he's tipping pitches and the Giants are having a home run derby. Yeah. Like the White Sox are a very polarizing team. Is he the most polarizing player on the most polarizing team?
I'll still side with Luis Robert, I think, because you
fair.
know what's there, and like you see what he does for 2-week stretches. But yeah, Kopech probably on the hill. The other one's Cease, right? Because there are outings where Cease can't throw a strike to save his life, and it's like, dude, you just finished second in Cy Young voting last year.
Yeah. The whole team, dude. The whole.
No, I mean,
team.
Tim Anderson's OPSing under 600. Like it's been a mess. It's been frustrating, but yeah, Kopech. I think Kopech and Luis Robert are the two that embody that frustration the best.
Let me give you a really important stat here on Kopech. Let's just talk about the fastball quality, which he's throwing the fastball a ton. But the last 3 games, slider and changeup combined, opponents are 0 for 24 with 9 Ks.
Dude.
So even though he's not going to those pitches a lot, they got to worry about it. And when he goes to it, they're not hitting it. That's pretty impressive. 0 for 24 with 9 Ks against the slider and the changeup over the last 3 starts. And against the fastball, they're 4 for 36. So they're not good against him against anything right now, but it's really cool to see the secondary stuff really, following suit as well.